Hello and welcome to the Scum and Villainy Report. Today we're diving into a question that might sound like a conspiracy, but it's rooted in statements, actions, and official records. Is there a coordinated effort among government officials to stop Donald Trump from ever taking office again? This plan, they say, is about protecting democracy. But when we look closely, a different picture begins to emerge. Let's start with the 14th Amendment argument. Some are now openly discussing using the 14th Amendment to keep Trump from office. The clause within it bars anyone who has engaged in insurrection or rebellion from holding federal office.
It's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means.
By invoking this clause, they aim to argue that Trump's alleged role in January 6 qualifies as insurrection. If successful, this would legally disqualify him from office. But that's not all. The true purpose of January 6th might be darker than we imagined. Next, let's talk about the Justice Department's handling of January 6 cases. Just recently, the Supreme Court dismissed several of these cases, citing the DOJ's prosecutorial overreach.
So what they have said is that one of the statutes the Justice Department used to charge hundreds of different January 6 defendants is no good. And that includes President Donald Trump, because he has actually had 2 of these counts against him in the Jack Smith D.C. case against him, that federal criminal case that has been on hold here. So what essentially they say is this statute, which was passed in the wake of Enron, they say it doesn't fit here. He says, given that the subsection was enacted to address the Enron disaster, not some other far-flung set of dangers like what happened just right over here at the Capitol, it is unlikely that Congress responded with such an unfocused and grossly incommensurate patch in English that essentially means that all of these people who were charged under this particular obstruction statute for January 6th, that is no good.
This dismissal suggests that some charges against January 6 participants were extreme or unfounded. It raises serious questions. Was January 6 manipulated to serve as a justification for preventing Trump from running? This is where the role of the FBI becomes critical. Several whistleblowers have come forward, alleging that FBI agents were present at the Capitol dressed as Trump supporters, even instigating the crowd.
This year, you might recall, sir, our exchange regarding the FBI's involvement on January 6th and prior. I'm happy to jog your memory to quote, according to the record, I asked you, did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol on January 6th prior to the doors being opened? You responded, I quote, again, I have to be very careful of what I say. To which I said, it should be a no. Can you not tell the American people no? We did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol on January 6th.
I'm not going to get into where we have or have not used confidential human sources, but what I can tell you...
on.
The FBI director's refusal to answer only fuels suspicion. Why won't they confirm or deny? If true, this would mean that federal agents played a role in stoking the very unrest they later condemned.
We can't get a straight answer, although we have a tremendous amount of evidence harvested and reviewed over the course of the last year, which you will see. In September, Stephen D'Artano, formerly in charge of the FBI's field office in Washington, D.C., testified to the House Judiciary Committee that he was aware the FBI informants would attend the Stop the Steal rally thrown on January 6th.
And it's not just the FBI's role that's in question. Nancy Pelosi's decisions also come under scrutiny. Why was there minimal security on January 6th? Even Nancy Pelosi herself admitted that she prevented the National Guard from being there.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff should we call the Capitol Police? I mean the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
No, there's not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
It was known that tensions would be high that day, yet Pelosi's actions ensured the National Guard wasn't on site. And there's more.
You can see them marching up.
And the rioters making their way towards the Capitol.
Secret Service said they have dissuaded him from coming to Capitol Hill. They told him they don't have the resources to protect him here. So at the moment he is not coming, but that could change.
Oh, he comes, I'm going to punch him out. This is my
wow,
moment.
I would pay to see
I've
that.
been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm going to punch him out, and I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to be happy.
Why did Pelosi appear pleased as rioters entered the Capitol? This was a serious breach of security, yet she looked almost satisfied. What about the Capitol Police? And why wasn't she calling the National Guard? It's evident that they knew well ahead of time that things were starting to boil over. Now let's hear from a National Guard general who provides insight into why reinforcements were so delayed. Capitol Police weren't allowed to call for backup, and even when backup was requested, there were unexpected delays.
This was discussed, and you didn't get a clear direction to have them mobilized. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. So I talked to Chief Son on Sunday. I talked to him Saturday and Sunday. We talk. We're friends. Mm-hmm. I've known him for a long time. So on Sunday, I asked him, are you going to request D.C. National Guard help? And if you do, I need it in writing. It has to be formal because the Secretary of Defense has to approve it. He told me he was not allowed to request a support. And I asked him if he wanted me to share that, and he said, no, I can't even ask you for the support, is what he told me. Mm-hmm. But he did say, but if I do call you, will you be able to support me? I said, yes, but I have to get approval from the Secretary of the Army and ultimately the Secretary of Defense because it's a federal request.
General Walker, if the restrictions on your authorities hadn't been put in place by DOD, what would you have done when Chief Son called you at 1:49 on January 6th with an urgent request for National Guard assistance?
I would have immediately pulled all the guardsmen that were supporting the Metropolitan Police Department. They had the gear in the vehicles. I would have had them assemble in the armory and then get on buses and go straight to the armory and report to the most ranking Capitol Police officer they saw and take direction. And further, just let me add this. So one of my lieutenant colonels on his own initiative went to the Capitol anticipating that we were going to be called. So he would have been there, and he met with Deputy Chief Carroll of the Metropolitan Police Department, who asked him, where is the National Guard? How come they're not here? And this colonel said, well, I'm sure they're coming, and I'm here to scout out where they're going to be.
It becomes clear that a mix of poor planning and bureaucratic obstacles led to the Capitol Police being overwhelmed. However, Capitol Police were not merely passive observers that day. Footage shows Capitol Police officers actually opening doors for protesters. Why?
Fucking traitors! They're gonna lock us in.
You can disagree with it, but respect each other.
Remote. Back. Kill him in hell. It's my motherfucking house.
Why were these officers seemingly complicit?
Senate well. I assume you have a memory of anything near like this.
We just saw protesters walking through Statuary Hall, Claire. I just don't want to interrupt, but we just saw people going right through. There they are.
And our
flag in Statuary Hall. Now that is the area
is that
by
the Walt
which,
Whitman camera that's capturing those? I believe.
No.
Whitman statue.
I'm not sure whether that's the Walt Whitman camera, but what that is the area where the senators process to go into the House for joint sessions. So it is.
Could this have been part of a plan to create a situation that could later be used against Trump and his supporters? When we connect the dots, from discussions of the 14th Amendment to questionable FBI involvement to Pelosi's role in weakening security and Capitol Police behavior, a troubling pattern appears. A coordinated effort to ensure that January 6th could be used to forever prevent Trump from holding office. And they're not even hiding it anymore. Some openly admit their goal is to keep Trump from the Oval Office, regardless of the will of the people. The implications of this should concern everyone, no matter your political stance. If federal agencies and officials are willing to manipulate events and weaponize the Constitution to disqualify a candidate, what else might they be willing to do? Thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned as we continue to investigate the forces at play behind the scenes.